The Lenovo Legion Pro 7i might have been everyone's favorite gaming laptop last year. For its price, it was definitely a great laptop that gave you really great performance for the dollar. But now that we have this, the Lenovo Legion Pro 7i Gen 10, it looks completely different compared to other Legion laptops from the past, and it's probably the best designed Legion laptop to date. And you know what? This might just be my favorite gaming laptop this year. Let me tell you why. So this Lenovo Legion Pro 7i is quite special. It's a 16-inch gaming laptop with a pretty slick design with an RGB light strip in the front and the back of the laptop, which I think looks really cool, but they now also added RGB to the Legion typeface on top of the laptop, and they also got rid of the ports on the back. But overall though, it sports a much more gamery looking design, and even though it's not the thinnest gaming laptop I used, it's also not the thickest that I've seen. Now, I know I'm not the first one to review this laptop, so I'm gonna go over some of its pros and cons after using the laptop for the past 2 months and see what Lenovo can improve for Gen 11. So let's talk specs real quick. The Legion Pro 7i that I have is, I guess, the one below the maxed out version that you can pick up from Lenovo's website. Now, at the time of making this video, they don't have the 5090 variant or the 5070 Ti variant available, but my unit is equipped with the Intel Core Ultra 9 275HX processor, which has 24 cores and 24 threads, which is just insane. It also comes with 32 gigs of RAM, which is user upgradable up to 64 gigs. It also has 2 terabytes of SSD, which is user replaceable as well. And of course, the RTX 5080, which has 16 gigs of VRAM and a TGP of 175 watts. Now the display on here is gorgeous. If you couldn't already tell, it is a 16-inch OLED display with a resolution of 2560 by 1600, and it's a glossy panel, so it looks great and has awesome accurate colors, but I will say I wish it had better anti-reflective coating on it. I wouldn't say it has the brightest display on a gaming laptop, but it does have a 240 Hz refresh rate with a 0.5 millisecond response time, so this screen is literally so good for gaming. Okay, so let's talk what I love about this laptop first. Now the first pro for this laptop would have to be the plethora of ports. Nowadays, laptops have only about 2 to 3 USB ports available, but man, this thing packs a lot, and I know that you guys are not gonna like where these are placed now compared to last year's Pro 7i, but I actually don't mind them at all. So in terms of ports, we have the DC in power port, then we have an HDMI 2.1 port, a USB-C port capable of delivering up to 140 watts of power, and it's also a DisplayPort 2.1. We're also getting another USB-C port, but it's a Thunderbolt 4 port, and then a USB-A 3.2 Gen 2 port. On the right-hand side, we get a headphone mic combo jack, 2 USB-A 3.2 Gen 1 ports, and last but not least, an RJ45 Ethernet port. So yeah, going from what we had last year with ports on the rear of the laptop, we now have a more traditional placement, but still don't lose out on accessibility of ports. Now, I wish we also got an SD card reader here, but you know, I can't really complain because of how many USB ports are on this laptop. Now, pro number 2 would have to be the build quality. Now, given that the Pro 7i from Lenovo is one of their higher end gaming laptops, it's gotta have really good build quality. And guess what? The entire body, from the laptop lid to the bottom cover, the inside of the laptop, is made out of aluminum, which just gives this laptop a super premium look and feel. Now, like I said earlier, the overall design did change compared to last year's more toned down minimal look. It looks more of a proper gaming laptop with the exhaust vents on the back that's surrounded by RGB. And then we also have the Legion typeface logo on the top lid with RGB, and of course the RGB strip on the lower front of the laptop, which does make it look a little bit more modern and more gamery, which I kind of like. Now, this isn't the thinnest nor the lightest gaming laptop. Like I said earlier, it weighs about 6 pounds or 2.7 kilos, which for a gaming laptop makes sense. But yeah, build quality I think is top notch, and it's definitely one of the better Legion laptops that I've used. Almost as good, if not better, than the Legion Pro 9i from last year. All right, for pro number 3, it would have to be the display. And I just want to give props again to Lenovo, just because I feel like they watched my video from last year on the Gen 9, because one thing that I said about the display on the Gen 9 was maybe put an OLED display and maybe a glossy panel. And if we can't get OLED, I'd love to see an option for a glossy panel. And guess what they put on here? An OLED display that's glossy. The only thing that they didn't add here is some sort of anti-reflective coating on the display. I think reflections are still going to be a bit of a problem in really bright environments, but listen, the OLED screen here is gorgeous, it's bright, it's color accurate, it's a 240 Hz refresh rate. You just can't hate on it. It's a really good panel for games, and videos looks awesome on this screen. Okay, so for my last pro here, and it's the performance. Now, over the past few months that I've been using this Pro 7i as my gaming laptop, when I'm traveling or I'm here in the studio with my gaming monitor, one thing I'm really wowed by is its performance. Now, yes, I get it. It's using one of the newest Intel chips available currently. It also has really good thermals thanks to the updated vapor chamber inside this laptop and the RTX 5080. But man, this thing absolutely flies when I'm gaming. Now, I do just have to mention that one of the things that you need to get the best of the best performance out of this laptop is this massive 400-watt charging brick, which is kind of like half the size of this laptop already, and it weighs like a brick. But with this charger, this will be able to give you the best performance under load, whether you overclock your CPU or GPU, and this will also enable performance mode and custom mode, so you can really push this to the max. Now, if you're someone who travels a ton and planning on going on trips and want to bring your laptop with you, but don't want to bring the massive 400-watt charging brick, I got you guys. Check out Anker and their new Prime chargers, which is honestly perfect for this laptop. Now, since one of the USB-C ports on this laptop allows for up to 140 watts of power delivery, Anker's Prime chargers, more specifically this 250-watt charging station, is actually capable of charging this laptop up to 140 watts via that USB-C port, and it has enough power to charge another device or two while still maintaining that fast charging for your laptop. Not only does it have 4 USB-C ports for fast charging, but it also has 2 USB-A ports on the side and a screen so you can see your charging stats in real time, and a clock so you don't always have to look at your phone to check the time. Now, what I actually like about this is that it doesn't have an external power brick just to power the charging station. It has an internal power supply, so your cable is just this one single black cable. On top of that, I can use my phone and connect to the charging station via their app and monitor my charges, and start and stop USB-C ports or set certain wattages for each port all through my phone. So if you travel often for work and don't want to bring a ton of charging bricks with you, especially that massive 400-watt charging brick, I think this is the best way to charge your devices all at once without sacrificing too much power or performance for this laptop. Now, I'll make sure to leave a link in the description below so you guys can pick one up for yourself, and huge thanks to Anker for sponsoring a portion of this video. All right, now just to give you guys some numbers on how this laptop fares when it's on battery versus when it's plugged in using that massive 400-watt charger. Just to give you guys some quick numbers, this laptop on battery got these numbers on Geekbench 6, which you can see on screen. And when you have this plugged in via that USB-C port at 140 watts, we're seeing a bit of a jump here in single core and multi-core performance. And then obviously when you mix in that 400-watt charger into the mix and run the same tests, we're getting almost 20,000 for multi-core and 3,000 plus for single core performance. Now, in terms of GPU, here's what we're looking at when it's on battery power versus 140-watt charger and using that 400-watt charger. Now, as you guys could see with that 400-watt charger, we're getting over 190,000 in GPU performance with this thing plugged in, and the performance loss on battery is kind of insane. And then when it comes to general gaming performance, this laptop is probably the most consistent machine that I've tested so far. There are no stutters, no lag, no overheating, and even when I have this plugged into my 4K monitor and have this in clamshell mode playing Warzone, which is probably the most unoptimized game in the world, it runs smooth like butter thanks to DLSS. I'm getting above 140 frames per second with most of my settings set to medium to get the most frames on a 4K display without the game looking like trash. But I've also been playing this in its balance mode while plugged into that 400-watt charger just to keep the fans at a minimum, because in balance mode, I'd say the fans are pretty quiet and is fairly cool compared to previous Legion laptops that I've tried. In performance mode, I think I can bump up a lot of the games that I play at high or ultra settings in 4K and still stay above 60 frames per second. It's just that the fans get quite loud. So if you share a room with someone and you want to game, you may want to just stick to balance mode and keep the fans at a minimum. It's not going to give you the best of the best performance, but at least you're not disturbing anyone with those really loud fans in performance mode. And now let's talk about what I didn't find all that great or would like to see next time around. All right, so clearly this laptop is a super fast laptop that can rip through AAA titles like it's no problem. But the downside to being a super powerful laptop is battery life can be terrible. Now, despite having the biggest battery that you can fit in a laptop, battery life is surprisingly, well, not surprisingly, it's subpar. For my testing, if you're gaming, not only will you lose quite a bit of performance, but the real downer here is that you're only really gonna get about 45 minutes to an hour tops if you're playing some heavy intensive games. but also games won't run as smoothly compared to when you're plugged in using that 400-watt charger. Now, even if I was to put this in its silent mode, which turns off the RGB on the laptop and lowers the screen brightness a little bit, battery life is still not that great. For my testing, I can only get about 4.5, maybe 5.5 hours if I'm just doing normal everyday things like browsing the web, working on Word documents, writing scripts or emails, watching videos, and maybe some photo editing. So once you hit that 3.5 hour, 4 hour mark, you should definitely look into plugging this in, because it's not the kind of laptop that'll last you an entire day like some other thin and light laptops that, I've been able to check out recently. Now for my last con, and this kind of ties in with the first one, and it's the fact that I can't use performance mode when I'm on battery or charging via USB-C. There should be a way for me to override the system so I can get a little bit more power versus, just keeping it in silent mode or automatic mode. Hopefully they listen again this year and give us the option to run performance mode or semi-performance mode of some sort on battery, or if I'm using that USB-C port at 140 watts. While performance is fine for the most part, it's just not able to utilize the power that this thing can output. I say give the users more control to their power. And so to wrap it all up for you guys, I think as an entire package, Lenovo made a really great gaming laptop that's not only different looking, but it's probably one of my favorite laptops to play games on right now. It's a heavy laptop and the charging brick is just as massive as the laptop, but I think they did a really great job packaging this one for a laptop that cost about $3,600, which, yes, I know is very expensive, but it's the kind of world that we live in now. Tech prices are going up, so I'm only expecting newer products will get even more expensive. Besides the price though, I think it's a great laptop to have insane performance that you can take with you on the go. With new GPUs costing well over $1,000 or some that you can't even find in stores, I'd much rather have this laptop than a desktop PC right now. Anyways, that's been it for this video. Thank you all so much for watching, and yeah, I'll see you all in the next one.